Welcome back to some more Tatarigoroshi. So as you can see, where we last left off, we managed to find Satoko's uncle, in which, of course, I assume he's still a piece of shit. Surprisingly, Keiichi got pretty mad. He wants to beat the shit out of him, but of course, Coach restrained him and put his ass in the car. So why the hell not? Let's continue reading. Coach got into the car first, then turned around on the narrow path and brought the passenger side door around for me. I know how you feel so well it hurts. No, I think I understand it even more than you. Blank. But right now, just for now, please endure it. She understood exactly how you feel. So, please endure it. If you don't, I know already. I'm sorry. Thank you for before. I meekly got into the passenger seat. The car accelerated quietly, and Satoko's house grew farther and farther away in the rear view mirror. We made a right turn, and then I couldn't see her house anymore. Hmm? Is your house that far away? It's in the other direction from the school, isn't it? I didn't bother to reply. I would have been hard-pressed to give him an answer as to why I was at Satoko's house. Coach didn't say anything more either. For a while, the two of us were silent. The only sounds from the gravel spraying over the road. The two of us were silent. The only sounds from the gravel spraying over the road as we drove. I remembered how Reina said things were different than last year. At the time, she had Satoshi with her. Satoshi protected Satoko, so that less of the sparks fell onto her. But now Satoshi isn't here. Yes, that's the unfortunate truth. Coach seemed to understand what I really meant when I said that. It's a terribly sad, cruel story. Throat is itchy. But there's a limit to our resolve, our efforts, and our assistance. It sounded like an excuse, but he was right. Even if Coach and I wanted to be people Satoko could depend on, that was all. It ended at the front door. No matter how much I shouted that I would be her Nini, no matter how much I shouted that I wouldn't abandon her, and no matter how much Satoko called me Nini, you said that. What? I would be her Nini, blah blah blah. I couldn't do any more than that. Where on earth could Satoshi have gone? Right, Satoshi was another story. Her actual brother, Satoshi, he wasn't in a position to protect her far better than we ever could. That was the cold, sad truth of the massive gulf between Satoshi and us. I wonder what he's been doing lately. Yeah, I wonder too. Satoshi left home. I didn't know why. Maybe it was because of a Yoshiro-sama's curse, or he disappeared or something. In any case, he wasn't beside Satoko now. At the time Satoko needed him to protect her most, he wasn't here. Why isn't he here? Satoko needs him now more than ever. A lot of people talk about Yoshiro-sama's curse. But the only thing I can say is that he ran away. One of my friends said that one day he just never came back. He ran away without even leaving so much as a note for his sister? Satoshi-kun had been doing part-time jobs a lot. At the time, Satoko-chan really wanted this huge stuffed animal. It ended up costing a lot, so he was doing all sorts of part-time jobs in order to afford it. He felt so strongly about it. Everyone was whispering about how he at least wanted to get his sister a nice birthday present, since she was being made to live such a pitiful life with her uncle and his wife. In the end, he didn't use his savings for a birthday present for Satoko. Satoshi-kun disappeared, and the police looked long and hard. They found out that Satoshi-kun had withdrawn all his savings himself on the day he left. After checking all over, they began to think that maybe he used his savings to go to Tokyo. Tokyo? For what? Again, all I could say was that he ran away. He saved up all that money so he could run away. He was that selfish. But how could he have just leave Satoko behind? If he was going to run away anyway, he should have brought Satoko with him. Even now, Coach was still calm. He wasn't trying to pour any oil on the fire of my anger at all. He just waited until my anger naturally subsided. After listening to a gravel being crushed under the wheels for a little while, Coach spoke abruptly. Please understand, Satoko-chan left behind arrived at the same conclusion. I'm a burden on my brother, and that's why he abandoned me. He didn't take her with him when he left. How terrible must Satoko have felt, being betrayed by the brother she loved so much. But Satoko-chan was a very strong person. Of course, she had the support of close friends too, but that was how she regained her smile. I recalled how Satoko had spoken to Satoshi so brightly when I was eating dinner with her and Rika-chan a few days ago. At the time, I didn't think any more of it than how pleasant their sibling love had been. But now that I think about it, I realized it was like she was peering into the distance from atop a pile of tragic perseverance. She said Satoshi-kun would come back for sure, and that when he did, she wanted him to see how she was no longer a burden. Satoko isn't a burden. She's way better at day-to-day living than me, and she can do pretty much anything. I mean, she might fall behind Reina or Rika-chan in certain aspects, but she's way more of an adult than most people. That's the result of her having worked so hard, since she didn't know when Satoshi would come home. Her efforts are so painful. While she lived with Rika-chan, while Rika-chan taught her how to handle everything flawlessly, also that she could welcome back Satoshi at any time, so that she could show him she wasn't ashamed. So, when is Satoshi going to come back? No words. I asked Coach, but knew he wouldn't be able to answer. In any case, Satoshi ran away. He left Satoko and ran away from Hinamizawa. Someone said that when you leave Hinamizawa and run away, Oyashiro-sama's curse gets you, right? Then that makes sense. That made sense. Satoshi ran away and his disappearance, that would obviously mean people thought it was the curse, right? And they could smile, as though it were his own fault, as though he got what he deserved. Hey, Oyashiro-sama, whoever you are. Satoshi didn't vanish because he ran away. You demoned him away with your curse, didn't you? If that's not what happened, then I couldn't forgive him. When did Satoshi run away? The night of the Watanagashi festival last year, when their aunt was killed by that deviant. It was a few days after that. On Satoko-chan's birthday. On Satoko's birthday? Bang! I slammed my hands on the dashboard in front of me with all my might. Satoshi, of all the days, he could have chosen to run away. Oh boy. Their aunt just died a few days before, didn't she? All your days of suffering were about to end, weren't they? You were just about to start thinking about a new life, weren't you? It's wrong to be happy about someone dying, but for Satoko and her brother, her birthday had come at a critical turning point. Their mean uncle had fled down, and the siblings would be left alone. They should have been able to be happy about that on Satoko's birthday. Satoko was probably waiting for her brother to return the whole time. Waiting for her brother to return when he never did. Waiting with bated breath for her mother, not mother, but bated breath for her brother to return, her hopes and dreams of a new life to come growing ever larger. But no matter how long she waited, he didn't come back. He didn't even contact her. Satoko, trembling in anticipation of a great present, just when would she have to face the cold, terrible truth? Satoshi, you fucking idiot. I could feel my blood rising to my head in my anger at Satoshi. I was frustrated. I was aggravated. I couldn't forgive him. Satoko still respected and adored her brother, and yet he so heartlessly betrayed her like that. Such a person wouldn't just come back now when he was most needed. Yes, no one would protect her. Not even her real brother Satoshi. So when she started to see you as her Nini, I was happy. Huh? I pray for Satoko-chan's happiness as well, but I have a position in society and a job to do every day. I have little time that I can devote to Satoko-chan, but you're different. You go to school with her, and you're closer to her and Satoshi-kun in age. No words. I know you think you can only do so much, but you're in a position where you can give Satoko-chan a hand much better than I can. So I want you to help her enough for the both of us. That's what I wish for. But that's... Coach, you would... Of course, with my job skills, there are plenty of things only I can help her with. But in the same way, there are things only you can do for her. What I want to say is, we should both perform in every way we can. Was that a little too complicated? Coach added that, but I shook my head in response. When I heard him say he had job skills, it reminded me that he was an adult, in a different position from all of us. Maybe I should ask him about it. Oh, Coach, do you know a lot about laws? No, I know even less than the average person. Why? I thought back to when I argued with Mion and the others about Satoko. Our children's argument had only left us with the conclusion that we had to wait and see, but what would an adult think? What was it? The child welfare law? As an emergency measure to secure the safety of a juvenile, they can force him or her to separate from the parents. They can do that? So then we could rescue Satoko from her uncle right away. Satoko-chan might not want that, unless the person being abused wants shelter. Anyway, it doesn't go that far. Go that far. Satoko doesn't want it? Why? No words. Coach didn't answer me. I didn't know why he didn't. It was clear as day that Satoko's uncle was being violent and treating her like a slave. So then why? I clamped down on my frenzied emotions and waited intently for Coach to answer. But he never did. It wasn't like he was pretending he hadn't heard me. If I had to say it, it was more like he wanted to explain but couldn't put it into the right words. Satoko-chan probably thinks of this abuse as a trial. A trial? This isn't some weird religion we're talking about. You might know this, but Satoshi-kun always looked out for Satoko-chan. She always relied on him, almost as though she was utterly dependent on him. I'd known for a while that Satoshi had always protected Satoko from their aunt and uncle, but that was his duty as an older brother, not something to worry about. I think that may have traumatized her. Maybe she figured that depending so heavily on her brother had made him hate her. And for Satoko, the current situation was a retelling of the story of a little over a year ago. But this time, Satoshi wasn't here. So I believe that now. She thinks something like this. She wants to overcome this trial by herself, without relying on anyone else. And that if she doesn't grow strong, then Satoshi-kun will never return. Now that he mentioned it, Satoko had never said a word about how hard it had been before. I figured she was being threatened not to talk about it, but I talked with everyone and we were wondering if we should report it to the Child Consultation Center. I have heard that a social worker was visiting Satoko-chan last year. Yes, in the end they decided to wait and see, and we thought maybe that made her get tormented even more. That was apparently Satoko-chan reported it herself, and as a result the abuse worsened but was kept just out of sight. She was under even more torment, and the burden on Satoshi-kun for protecting her rose considerably. Could Satoko... She wouldn't be thinking it's her own fault for reporting it, would she? Coach nodded quietly. Satoko-chan would probably either hate it if you suggested reporting the abuse, or feign courage and say you didn't need to. And even if you reported it in secret, she's probably insisted to the social worker that she wasn't being abused. Satoko always acts tough and doesn't readily admit defeat, so I could imagine that easily. And there are strict limitations on this emergency measure. The Child Consultation Center would need permission both from the courts and from the concerned party. If the abuse was known to the public, they would forcibly shelter her even if she denied it. For Satoko-chan, that would probably mean losing. This isn't about winning or losing. It's real life. Satoko, she's... Back on topic. After they placed her under their protection, she would be sent to a child care institution or the like, and she would basically be living there, so it would mean moving away. And with the change in residence would come to a change, and with the change in residence would come a change in schools too. That changing schools, it has to be done, if that's what it will take for her to be safe. Satoko-chan understands all those things. All the more reason for her not to want it. Why? Because Satoko-chan's reason for living is to wait at that house where Satoshi couldn't return. She was a husk, an empty shell after being abandoned by her brother. How did she find her reason to live? Try looking at it from Satoko-chan's point of view, rather than your own. I felt like he was trying to confuse me with that hard to understand, roundabout way of talking so unique to adults. The point was that I couldn't do anything about Satoko wanting to stay in that house, and that I should watch until she gives in. In the end, no matter what I said, Coach himself was saying to wait and see. I don't understand. What? If I feel that Satoko is really in danger, I will report it without asking anyone's opinion. She might not be happy with this result, and she might hate me for it, but I believe that will ultimately be what brings Satoko happiness. Coach turned to me and gazed fixedly into my eyes. It was written all over his face. He was shocked. And what such a young kid had said. Why would you go that far? Why would I go that far, I wonder? Coach, no, rather, normal adults might not have understood. So I taught him the creed and the values that I believed in. Satoko is my friend, and I am Satoko's Nini. Isn't that enough of a reason? I stared at him with a will strong and unbreakable as steel as his eyes betrayed a tiny bit of unrest. No, of course that's enough. We were silent for a little while until finally, Coach said only that. Didn't we make a promise? I'm sorry, what? That we weren't going to ever let Satoko cry. We made a vow on that day of the barbecue party. I didn't think about it hard at all, but Coach and I still made a promise that we wouldn't ever let Satoko cry. Coach gave a dry grin of regret, immediately apologizing for not remembering. One way or another, when he grinned like that, it made me think that his enthusiasm for saving Satoko was a tiny bit smaller than mine. He lightly hit the brakes, making a skidding noise, and leaned forward. Could that be your house there? Oh, right. Maibara-san would live at the Maibara residence, wouldn't he? Before I knew it, we were almost to my house. That was a long, long-ass drive. How can he ever forget such things? Come on now. The vow at the barbecue. You have received new tips, case 31. Plain to see. Alright, so that was the end. That was part 6 was done. So let's look at the new tips, I guess. Case 31. December 1, 1981. Something Prefecture Juvenile Welfare Division report. Do not view, do not duplicate. Case 31, November 20. Satoko Hojo, whatever years old. Residence something Hinamizawa Village, Shishibone. I consultation circumstances. Anonymous telephone SOS of child abuse. Abuse situation. Anonymous claims that a female child is suffering physical abuse by adoptive parents, her guardians. Part 3, family structure. Dot marks abusers. Adoptive father, adoptive mother, older brother, child in question. Note, in June 1980, the child's parents died in an accident, and she was given to her uncle on her father's side, her father's younger brother. Part 4, Child Consultation Center's response. On the day of an anonymous telephone consultation, the center called the child's school and asked of her situation. The next day, the welfare officer on duty visited the child's home and heard what they had to say. Both adoptive parents agreed to the center's coaching, contacted anti-abuse network in the city. As part of this suggested coaching, a district welfare officer in the area began visiting for coaching at fixed intervals. The scrawled note below is stapled to the report. Related information from former official Mr. W. Referred to 1977 document D2-3, number 44. Ask Chief Investigator F from the city's education consultation offices. He is well informed about it. Alright, that's about it, huh? Alright, so that's it for all of the tips so far. Alright, so yeah. Slacking manager. I always loved Shion. I don't know why. Maybe she has that nice. Well, ever since with Tanagashi, I liked Shion. So okay, so that was. Should I go continue more? Nah, I'm just gonna leave it here for now. So next part, we're gonna continue part 7. So stay tuned and have a good day.